Okay, still going live on YouTube. Oh, I am live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. So, Laura, hello on Instagram. Oh, it's been ages. I have not really been on Instagram or any for a while, not properly. And yeah, I just had this sudden thought today, having felt for ages that I should be posting and, not feeling particularly inspired to post. I mean, like having thoughts, but just not feeling like I want to share them. I don't really know why. And then this morning, I just thought, I'm going to go live. So here I am. And I had the thought of wanting to go live before I even kind of knew what I wanted to talk about. But there are a couple of things that I have been thinking about. One is that last weekend I gave my smartphone to my eldest son to take to his dad's with him for 4 days, just to keep it in the bottom of his bag so I could be completely without a phone. And I thought I might talk a little bit about that experience and what I'm doing as a result. The other thing I've been thinking a lot about is apology, about saying sorry. And it's something that I have and always have had a lot of issues with. And I've gone through a lot of phases in my life thinking, something wrong with me, blaming it on the fact that I was made to say sorry as a kid. I mean, I'm sure that doesn't help. Now looking at it through an autistic lens, looking at it through a trauma lens, looking at it through all sorts of things. And I've had some insights on that. So I think I'm going to touch on that too. And, who knows what else might come up, but it's great to be here. How are you doing? So I don't know how far into lockdown we are now. Lockdown life really suits me. I love it. But I know that that's not the case for everybody. And I'm very aware that, people are having a huge range of different experiences with coronavirus. So feel free to share with me how you're doing, if you'd like to. So my phone, I have an iPhone, and my iPhone is where I do most of my connection with people. It's an incredible tool for my business. As my boys get older, it's a helpful tool for that. But I have been really, really struggling to bring my daily screen time usage below 6 hours. I have sometimes managed to get it as low as 5.5 hours, but mostly it's up at 7.5 hours. And I feel shocked by that. And I definitely am not doing 6 or 7 hours worth of valuable activity on my phone. I know that I'm not. I do a lot of scrolling, a lot of just reaching to check. I don't even know what I'm checking for. It's just a habit. And so when I had this opportunity last weekend to give my phone to my eldest son so that it wasn't in the house, I just thought, I'm going to go with this. And it was so interesting because my husband said to me, well, why don't you just give it to me? And I said, no, because then I will know you've got it. I will ask you to tell me where it is. You won't tell me. Then I will get cross with you. Then I will, strop about it. And my eldest son said to me, he said, well, I'll just hide it in the house. I said, don't hide it in the house. I will just look for it. And it was so interesting just noticing this incredible, fierce part of me that knew that if my phone was to hand, I wouldn't, even if it was hidden, even if it was turned off, I wouldn't be able to leave it where it was. And I have tried before, putting my phone away in a drawer and things like that. And I have mixed success. And one of my very dearest friends, if she decides to be without her phone, she just does it. She puts her phone away in a drawer or leaves it upstairs or something. And she walks away from her phone for several hours. And I just can't do that. I just have a real all or nothing way of living. So with my phone, it really seems to be like all or nothing. And I can't find that happy medium with it. So Peep left at about 6:15 in the evening with my phone. And I said goodbye to him in the kitchen. And he left the house and I turned to go upstairs. And this whoosh of anxiety just like just rose from my belly up. And I was like, oh, it was a very stark moment of realization that, holy shit, I haven't got my phone. There was something really visceral about it. And I noticed it and I was able to observe it. I didn't get caught in it. I went, wow, hello. Oh, spitting everywhere. That's, gosh, hello, anxiety. That's interesting. Anyway, it was fine. It subsided. It was really glad that I listened to it and acknowledged it. So on Saturday, that was day one, I had a lot of anxiety on Saturday. I kept physically reaching for my phone that wasn't there in a really habitual way. And it really surprised me, and yet it didn't surprise me at all. But just noticing that I don't go to my phone because I need my phone. I just go to my phone because it's become such a habit to go to my phone. So Saturday came and went. Saturday was also quite a stressful day because my dog managed to get into a jar of chocolate spread, managed to eat half a jar of chocolate spread, get an awful lot of it in my son's carpet. And I had to do things like ring the vet. I knew that friends had a carpet cleaner, but I didn't have my phone. So it was really interesting tackling something coming up in my life without my phone. But I survived. I did okay. And Sunday, I started to experience bliss. I slowed down in myself. I felt this beautiful relaxation. I started to flow in creativity with my garden, with my sewing. It really was, it was amazing. And that bliss continued. And then my boys came back on Tuesday evening, and I had thought through already what it might be like turning my phone on. I had anticipated the overwhelm that I might experience. And sure enough, that overwhelm kicked in. And I did what I decided I was going to do. I was going to go through all of the notifications that came through, and then I was going to start deleting apps off my phone. All of the apps that pull me in to that kind of habitual habits. Habitual habits, all habits are habitual. Those habitual behaviors, that's what I mean. So I spent about an hour to an hour and a half doing that. I no longer have email on my phone. I no longer have Facebook or Messenger. I've taken off all of the apps that I might use to do, I don't know, bits and just all sorts of things. I've taken them all off. I've taken my business related apps off. I am going to switch to Signal over WhatsApp. It won't change my messaging behavior unless my friends and family don't switch to Signal too. But that's something that I'm going to do. I'm going to move to Signal, mostly because I feel deeply uncomfortable with how much of me and my life and my presence on this earth is trackable and knowable by other organizations and by governments and things like that. Not that I've got anything to hide, but actually my autonomy and my freedom and my privacy is important. So all of that has gone. And then I put my phone away and I went round to my husband's house and I said to him, I've only had my phone back for an hour, hour and a half, and already I can feel this heavy blanket of anxiety coming over me. And that made me realize how stark the contrast was for me of life without my smartphone and life with my smartphone. Part of me is considering getting rid of my smartphone altogether. But I'm aware that there are a lot of ways that I do connect with my smartphone that I wouldn't be able to do on a little kind of burner phone. So it's been a really interesting journey, and I'm still on that journey. So my boys go back to their dad's this evening, and they're there until Sunday evening, and I may well hand my phone over again. And that feels really, rather than feeling kind of like, ooh, I feel real kind of relief when I think about doing that. And I had 2 days this week where I was on call for a PR agency and I had to have my phone with me. So I haven't been able to explore what it might be like just to put my phone away. And it may be that that's easier for me now. We shall see. So that's me and my smartphone. Things that I noticed not having a smartphone was this bliss that I don't often experience. But once I moved into the bliss, I stayed in the bliss. Coco, it's okay. It's okay. So that bliss state was just wonderful. I felt more connected and connected with and attracted to my husband. I mean, I am very attracted to my husband anyway, and we have a great connection, but it was just, there was more. My brain was able to, my brain thinks all the time. And it just never stops thinking, like it's just firing all the time. And so one of the things that I do in my phone is I look things up, or I share bits of information with people, or, you know, all sorts of things. And because my phone wasn't there, my brain started to slow down. And that slowing down allowed me to be so much more present with my husband. It was beautiful. More present with myself. I was able to just drop into gardening activities or sewing activities. I made myself a jumpsuit, which you may well have seen me posting about. Activities that normally I don't allow myself to drop into because there's a couple of reasons. One is that I get so engrossed that I then really struggle to transition out of that space. But also, when I have my phone with me, my brain isn't able to drop in fully. And I wasn't aware of that aspect of it. I thought it was just to do with my struggles to transition out, and I cannot stand being interrupted when I'm engrossed in something. But there was definitely a part of it where my brain was slowing down and relaxing and able to drop into these immersive activities and be fully present in them. And since having my phone back, I noticed that dropping down into that space just isn't easy for me. It's like it's not accessible. When my phone is there, it's not easy for me to access that dropping down experience. And I started to notice flavors, smells, sounds. There were just so much of my world started to come alive to me that I already am noticing with my phone back that my attention is back on my phone and not being present in the world around me. So if anyone's got any questions about my smartphone journey, feel free to ask. I could keep talking about it because, you know, being autistic, I can just keep talking and talking and talking about something that is meaningful to me, but doesn't necessarily mean it's interesting or meaningful to anyone else. I've been thinking a lot about apology. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I'm just going to check Facebook for comments, and then I'm going to start talking about apology. How do I see? Pip, good morning. Okay, so let me come back to this. Right, let's see. Oh, Natalie on Facebook. I would love to get rid of my phone completely. I really would love to get rid of my phone completely as well, but I can't. That's not a great word, is it? Can't. Of course I can. Of course I can. I'm choosing not to because the ways that I am able to connect with my very good friends via the apps available to me on my phone, I would lose really important connection if I moved back to a regular phone. And also, Instagram does not work for me on a desktop. I mean, Facebook is a little bit of a struggle, but Instagram doesn't work for me on a desktop. And the other thing is that I experience a lot of anxiety around traveling to new places. And so using Google Maps for navigation has been such a tremendous support for me to be able to do things and go places without the levels of anxiety that I used to experience. So I'm very aware that as an autistic woman especially, well, I guess I don't know what it would be like not to be an autistic woman because, you know, hello, I'm autistic. But certainly for me as an autistic woman, I can really see how my phone does really support me to engage with the world in ways that I wouldn't be able to access that support without a mobile phone. Without a smartphone, sorry. So yeah, it's an interesting one, but I definitely really do want to change my relationship with my smartphone in really huge ways. I've even set up not call answering, what's it called? Answer phone with my landline provider. Years ago, I was going to get rid of my landline. I'm glad I didn't. Anyway, hello, Lorraine. Hi, Fiona. Okay, so let's talk. Well, you can join in the conversation, please do. But let's talk about apology. What I'm going to say might really upset and trigger a lot of people, and feel free to have the conversation with me about this. But I think that apology, in most cases, so saying sorry in most cases, is nothing more than a tool to bypass being fully present in a relationship. Now, I want to add a caveat to that. If you do something that you realize, like you just know was not okay. So for example, let's say I end up shouting at one of my kids. That isn't, for me, that is not okay behavior. So in that situation, it's absolutely appropriate from my perspective to say, I am sorry that I shouted at you. I wished I hadn't lost my temper. I wished I hadn't raised my voice. And then I might explain that, you know, I felt angry because, I don't know, I was really needing help and you said that you weren't able to help me in that moment, or whatever it was, or I'm tired and, you know, I wished I'd been able to control myself more in that situation, and I am sorry. So in a situation like that, I think that apology is really helpful. Or for example, there are times when I'm aware that I can be snippy or scratchy or critical of my husband because something's going on in me. And when I catch myself, if I catch myself in that behavior, then I think it's absolutely appropriate to say, Green, I'm so sorry. I'm realizing I'm being snippy and critical. And I think it's because I'm feeling anxious about whatever it is, or I think it's because I'm really tired, or I think it's because I'm on the edge of meltdown, or whatever. So there are times when I absolutely think that saying sorry is spot on. But I think that we have gotten into habits of expectation around apology, whereby we almost demand an apology of someone else, or we feel a pressure to come in relationship with our children, relationship with our parents, relationship with our colleagues or our neighbors or whatever. I think that we have this habit of jumping to saying sorry or jumping to demanding an apology because that is going to make us feel better, or is going to make the other person feel better. Now, Brene Brown, who I am apart from when she talks about parenting, when I have huge concerns, but regarding resilience, she defines resilience as being our ability to tolerate discomfort. And when it comes to discomfort within relationships, whether no matter what the dynamic of the relationship is, many of us lack resilience. Many of us lack the ability to tolerate discomfort within that relationship. And so that leads us to saying sorry quickly to make the other person feel better, or make us feel better maybe, or demanding or requesting an apology from them to make us feel better. When we do that, we leap across this whole, let's call it a lake or a reservoir, because I don't want to make it sound something like kind of dirty or sludgy, like a, quagmire or something, like a lake or a reservoir that actually provides us with this opportunity to, no one can make you feel anything. When you did so and so, I felt angry. Instead of the other person saying, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel angry, which when that happens to me, I just feel like, no, I know you didn't mean to make me feel angry. Why would you try and make me feel angry? Like, that's ridiculous. I'm not asking for apology. If I say to someone, when you did this, I felt angry, I'm not wanting that. I want to understand what was behind their behavior. I want to understand what was behind my angry response, for example. That to dive down with the other person to explore what might be going on, so that when we behave in a certain way or speak in a certain way, when we grow and mature and develop our relationship with them through swimming together in that reservoir or that lake, to emerge the other side. Now, it's possible that an apology may then come, but it's likely that an apology is not necessary, because we've been able to reach this point of understanding. Understanding leads us to have empathy, and then we have a greater level of connection and trust from which each person is able to slowly tweak, shift, transition, transform their behavior moving forwards. I see memes online quite often talking about, how don't apologize if you're not going to change your behavior. Well, that to me is just really messed up, because most of our behaviors are subconscious. All of our behaviors have a positive intention, even if they don't seem like it to us or to anyone else. All of our behaviors have a positive intention, and the majority of our behaviors are subconscious. So to put this requirement on somebody that if they have said sorry for a behavior or a way of speaking or something, that they shouldn't do that again, and that if they do that again, then somehow they're toxic, or they're not committed, or I don't know, whatever it is, or that their apology meant nothing. All we're doing is kind of just laying down kind of these barriers to us growing in our relationship together. I think that we can use apology alongside acknowledgement that there's a challenge for us in that behavior or in the way that we spoke, for example. And depending on the nature of the relationship, we might say, for example, something like, I recognize that when I speak to you in that way, you feel sad and discouraged, and my intention is not for you to feel that way, and yet I feel powerless to change the way I'm speaking. When I feel stressed or when I feel anxious, that seems to just be the way my words come out. And is there a way that you and I can work through this together so that I can learn to do things differently? Now, the other person may say, no, you need to go see a therapist. Well, that's fine. That's a healthy boundary. But the other person may say, I really appreciate you sharing that with me. And I understand that dynamic. Or can you tell me a bit more about this? Or, what is it that you're feeling in your body when you start speaking to me in that way? When we have those kinds of conversations, when we're swimming together in this lake or this reservoir, we're growing together. When we bypass the lake or the reservoir by jumping over it, by just saying, I don't like it when you speak to me like that. I find it really rude. And that person just says, I'm really sorry. We leap over that reservoir or that lake. We don't have that opportunity to have these kinds of conversations. And so when we jump into saying sorry or offering an apology, it seems to me a form of bypassing connection, joy, peace within a relationship, and it's driven by a compulsion or a desire to avoid discomfort. It seems to me like a lack of resilience within ourselves, this inability to tolerate discomfort within our relationships. I've just seen Alyssa. Hi, Alyssa. I'd rather have understanding on both sides. Apologies can be faked. Genuine understanding and the connection that comes from that can't. Yes, yeah, that is it. Alyssa has just said in 5 lines what I have been wittering on about for about 15 minutes. Apologies without understanding and connection really mean nothing. And like Alyssa says, it's really easy to fake. And those of us who have been raised in a way where we were made to say sorry, like, you need to sit there and think about that. And when you're ready to say sorry, then you can come and join us. And, as a child, you go back and you say, well, I'm sorry that I hit my brother, or, whatever it was. I used to hit my brother a lot. He used to hit me a lot too. So, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. But not only do you then learn this skill of saying sorry without meaning it, but you're also learning guilt and shame. Whereas, for example, the way that I've raised my boys is, I don't think apart from in the first 3 years of being a mum, I don't think I've ever required or demanded an apology. And so my boys can just connect with that part within themselves that flags up and just says, something wasn't quite right here for you. And my boys offer apology. And what's amazing is they actually offer apology in a way that doesn't trigger me. So they don't just say sorry to appease me or to take the discomfort out of the relationship. They say sorry from a place of recognizing that something about their behavior was off, and doing that alongside learning with me or from me sometimes, a different way to move forwards. So I've been thinking, Alyssa, I so appreciate you contributing that. So I've been thinking a lot about apology, and I was talking to my husband about this the other day. And because he said, yes, well, if ever I say sorry to you, you say to me, I don't want you to say sorry. And I don't want someone to say sorry without first diving into that lake and reservoir and swimming in there together. What he and I have done a lot of over the years is I dive in and he's trying to jump over. He's like on the other bank. And he's like, I'm here trying to say sorry. What are you doing in the lake or in the reservoir? And I'm like, I'm trying to swim through this so that I can really connect with you and understand what's going on. Anyway, I'm probably highly annoying for him at times, but yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so that's something I've definitely had a bee in my bonnet about. I'm just going to quickly check if there are any comments on YouTube. No, there aren't. That's fine. So those are my thoughts on apology. So I have talked about smartphones, apology, and I don't really know what to talk about now. Well, I mean, I don't have to talk about anything, do I? I've been going for 30 minutes. It's probably more than enough for most people listening to me, maybe. Yeah. I did my first click and collect grocery shop today. Took me almost 2 hours to do it online, and I'm very proud of myself. I wore my green lanyard, which is recognised by Tesco's, meaning that you have a hidden disability. Although right now I don't feel disabled by being autistic at all, but sometimes I do. And I did definitely have elevated anxiety while I was in the car queuing for the click and collect, but it was all fun. It was all good. And then on the way out, I thought about getting some fuel, but then I was not sure if I had the right number of spoons because I'm perimenopausal at the moment. I've just on day 2 of my cycle, having only, my last cycle was 23 days. So I seem to be going back to the sort of cycle I had as a teenager and getting similar symptoms to the ones that I experienced as a teenager as well. So I'm really listening to my body and honoring it. Yeah. So I think I'm going to leave it there, unless any questions pop through or comments, which I'm always so happy to respond to. But I don't want to keep talking just for the sake of it, because I could just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And both the things I've talked about today are kind of real, like, work in progress things in terms of where my brain is at and what I'm thinking about at the moment. So, okay. I will speak to you soon. Bye-bye, Instagram. Let me end you first. End now. Okay. And, oh my goodness. Oh, wait there. Okay. Oh, I don't know what's happening there. Okay. And then let me end Facebook. Bye-bye, Facebook. And then let me end YouTube. Bye-bye, YouTube.